Shut your mouth, sir.
City business, Bob.
Attention. Don't have an open door violation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real clear. I don't know none of you all a motherfucking thing. Hey, it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. How you like the new intro there? That new intro made specifically by Joshua Civic Duty Kimbrell. For those of you that might like the original music, here we go. We'll let you have a little bit of that. Okay. All right, well, that's enough of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome. This is Bilbrey Live. Oh, my jaw just about locked up there. This, I have rabies. Hey, I just lost internet. Thanks, JD, for dependable internet in the outer regions. Doesn't that suck? All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bilbrey Live. This is a very special Bilbrey Live that we are doing on a Friday evening. I'm here on Friday because I wasn't here on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day the 4th was. I guess it was Tuesday. I wasn't here on Tuesday, so we're here on Friday. But it's a good thing that we're here, and it's a good thing that we have some things to talk about because some craziness broke out just to the south of the county that I live in, and I had a large amount of people contact me and ask for some help. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be talking specifically in this episode about Henry County, Indiana. Now, for those of you that are watching from the Muncie or the Delaware County area, I want to say don't tune out. What we're going to be talking about is extremely interesting, and the level of, I'm not going to say corruption, but the level of dysfunction that is occurring currently down in Henry County is a little concerning. And when I put this show together yesterday with the help of Joshua Civic Duty Kimbrell, we had one issue to talk about, and it was one overarching issue. And now we have two issues just in the span of 24 hours. Now, I want to say this is a very interesting situation that we're going to be talking about, because one of these situations, while I agree with maybe points of the message, I don't agree with the messenger, and I don't agree with how the message was delivered. And I have some thoughts about why the message is being delivered. So we're going to be talking about that. But then the second part that we're going to talk about is just all kinds of no good. So I'm telling everybody, it doesn't matter if you're not from Henry County, you're going to want to hear this, especially if you are around or you travel through Henry County. This is going to be big. I am going to ask you all to please give us a like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, toggle that thumb like button and give us a like. For the algorithm gods, we're always trying to appease them, so give us a like, hit subscribe if you wouldn't mind, and then hit that bell so you're notified anytime we go live or we drop content. We give you a schedule so you know when I'm here throughout the week. You know when the bastards are here. We have other content that drops just haphazardly throughout the week when content is available. So you'll want to hit that bell so you stay notified. But the show that we're going to be talking about tonight, ladies and gentlemen, was foreseeable, and something could have been done about this. And I talked to you guys about this. I'm not somebody that says, I told you so when we're talking about politics. I'm not somebody that says, I warned you, I told you. You know, we just try to adapt and overcome. And that's how I've always tried to look at it. But this might be the first time in history that I'm going to say, Henry County, I told you so. Back last year in 2022, Henry County was faced with a couple of elections in which they could have went really, really good, or they could have went really, really bad. One of those, for example, was the Melanie Wright race, a county council candidate. I don't even know what district. I don't even know who the winning candidate was. But this man literally won, and he was a ghost. He did no campaigning, and he won. Crazy. All right. That's just one example. Number two, and I'm telling you this as a constitutional conservative, I would not have pulled the vote button. I wouldn't have used the stylus to push in the Chad. I wouldn't have put my button on the machine and hit the button. I wouldn't have put my thumb in the paint and marked purple on a rock. Whatever you guys do down there in Henry County, I would not have voted in any way for John Sproles for a leadership position inside the sheriff's department. John Sproles, if he wanted to run for council, hey, maybe I'd talk about that. Probably not, because I know that there were some issues financially going on there. John Sproles, he wants to run for commissioner. Okay, yeah, we could talk about that. John Sproles wants to run for township advisory board or something like that. Okay, we can talk about that. But I'll tell you exactly why I would not have voted for John Sproles for sheriff. All right, I know that in the state of Indiana, the sheriff's position is a constitutional position, and that means any Tom, Dick, or Harry could file to run for office for sheriff and could potentially win. That being said, you cannot elect John Sproles because he had 4 years of service. He had 4 years of service on the sheriff's department. He is still brand new. He's an FNG. He's a new guy. Yes?
You say it's an elected position, which means anyone can run, anyone can win.
Mm-hmm.
Like our dear perennial sheriff candidate here in Randolph County.
Yeah.
Who is very large
and in charge,
smelly, and has no law enforcement experience, and I'm sorry to say, I think is barely literate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I still might have
anyone can run and anyone can win, and they mean anyone.
I still might have voted for Messersmith over John Sproles.
Well, I will say this. If I ever got into trouble and needed to run away from the cops, I'd rather run away from Hiram than John.
Oh, well, yeah, especially after the news I'm getting ready to drop here in just a little bit. Absolutely. We've got No, yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. Producer Kate, everybody. Okay, so here's the thing. I told everybody last year that John Sproles was not the candidate for the job. And the reason I said that he was not the candidate for the job was simply because he was not he's not a leader. He is not a leader. He has been the sheriff. He's been a sheriff's deputy for 4 years. Okay. There is a lot that he needs to learn. There's a lot that law enforcement officials need to learn in the first year, in the first 2 years, in the first 3 years, in the first 4 years, in the first 5 years. And the problem is, and we witnessed this during the run, that John Sproles campaigned from a place of ego. Okay? Listen, I'm not talking about John Sproles as a husband. I'm not talking about John Sproles as a father. I'm not talking about John Sproles as a friend. I don't care about any of that. None of those things have any matter to me. None of those things matter one bit. I'm talking about John Sproles as an elected official, as the leader of the sheriff's department, okay? As what a lot of people see as quote unquote the top cop of the county, okay? And I can tell you that when I witnessed what he did as a candidate, when he was accusing a fellow candidate of criminal actions without bringing forth evidence, without bringing forth information that would lay the case out, that was something that I was very concerned about, because I thought, if this is what this man is doing now to a fellow law enforcement officer, a fellow candidate, how is he going to treat the suspects on the street? How is he going to train and lead his deputies to do better? You know, people govern as they campaign. All right. It's very important to know that. So here's the thing. I said last year, John Sproles is going to damage the law enforcement community in Henry County. Simple. He is going to damage the law enforcement community in Henry County. I have been worried about that. Okay. I've been very worried about that. And I said that, number one, what would happen is he would damage the law enforcement community, and that's going to cause a situation which is going to be bad for the citizens, bad for the taxpayers. We live in a world right now where nobody trusts cops. Nobody trusts the good cops. Nobody trusts the bad cops. And everybody's out there looking, and everybody's wanting a reason to pop off. And look, I'm not saying they're wrong. Okay? I'm not saying they're wrong. So the police have to be going above and beyond. They have to be educated. They have to be serving with purpose, and they have to be on it at all times. They cannot be leading from a place of ego. Okay? They cannot put away the common sense. They must be on it at all times. And in my opinion, FNG, the rookie, you know, that ought to be his nickname for the sheriff. All of the deputies ought to call him Rook. Hey, Rook, FNG. I think he's like one of the newest guys on the department. Okay? So let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. Okay, and I get that. I get that, Diane. I get that. You're in a situation where you're left with two bad choices. Okay, you're in a situation where you're not you're up a creek. You're up a creek without a paddle. Okay, and I get it. I understand that completely, and I understand that. What I'm saying though is, you guys are in a really bad situation. So back a couple of months ago, I ran an episode where I talked about how I was worried that Sheriff Sproles, was building up a department of people who, like to kind of bully and just be brash and do things to get their ways. And what I laid out as my case for that, and you guys can go back and watch that on this very platform. You can watch this on this very The Bastards of Politics platform. It was an episode that I did, and matter of fact, I cut it down and I made it very easy. I did it in a long form podcast with a couple of other topics, but I cut out just the very specific John Sproles part, and you guys can go back and you can watch just simply that John Sproles part. And I'm looking for it right here, right now. Give me 1 second, and I'll be able to tell you what it was. Yeah, it's called How Henry County, Indiana Sheriff John Sproles Runs His Department. It was from 2 months ago exactly, and you can find it. You can find it on the Bastards of Politics. It was from April 18th, 2023, and so that's when it was from. Okay. So the reason I said there was a problem with him last back in April, and what I laid forth was, he had two of his deputies, his chief deputy and some other deputy, go into the commissioners meeting and just explode on the commissioners. You're going to give us this money, and we need a good department, and we deserve this. At the end of the day, I got a bottle of water here, and when I drink the last drop from this bottle of water, I can put this bottle of water to my mouth and I can try to get the water out of it, but no more water is going to come out of it. And what Sproles doesn't understand is, he can just go back and keep beating that drum and keep beating that drum. And he thinks that Commissioner Plummer and Commissioner Wiley and Commissioner Dellinger and the council is just going to hand over money. Well, that's not how it works. And I'm hearing from sources inside county government that the commissioners, the council, they are put in a very bad place with the sheriff, because he is just relentless and he does not give up. Okay. But that's all inside baseball stuff. That's all government officials fighting with each other, which it's like, okay, whatever. But let me tell you, that stuff all runs downhill. Okay. It all lands on us. It all lands on you, the taxpayers. All right. So let me tell you what we're talking about now. 4th of July comes and goes. I'm sitting in my house minding my own business on Wednesday, and I start getting inundated. With phone calls, with text messages, with emails, with Facebook messages from folks in Henry County. And I'm getting these messages from law enforcement officers. I'm getting these messages from elected officials, and I'm getting these messages from citizens who say, have you heard the newest thing that's happening with John Sproles, the sheriff? And I said, nope, I can't say I have. And one of the individuals says, well, he's trying to go to war. All right. He's trying to go to war with the small towns. He's trying to go to war with, Sulphur Springs, Mount Summit, Moreland, and he's causing a problem with the town boards and with the town marshals in these positions. And, it's going to really, really get bad. And we don't know what to do. And we need some help. And I was like, okay, like what? I don't understand. All right. So for everybody that don't know where I'm talking about, the map up on the screen right now is Henry County. Henry County, Indiana is just south of Delaware County, which is my county. All right. Newcastle is the county seat. It's the city that's in the middle there of the county, and it's the largest city. And then it has a large amount of these small little villages, which here we call towns. Okay. And a lot of these places have their own law enforcement. All right. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be off by one or two, the law enforcement in Henry County goes like this. You have the Henry County Sheriff's Department, you have the Newcastle City Police Department, and then you have the Mount Summit Police Department, the Sulphur Springs Police Department, the Moreland Police Department, the Caddis Police Department, the Kennard Police Department, the Shirley Police Department, the Louisville Police Department, the Middletown Police Department, and the Knightstown Police Department, and the Greensboro Police Department, okay? Along with ISP, Indiana State Police, and DNR. That is a lot of law enforcement in one county in small, middle of nowhere Indiana, okay? That's a lot of law enforcement. That being said, each of those little communities, if they want to have a police department in their town and their town board wants to do that and they want to start that up and go through, hey, more power to them. You're allowed to do as you want in your town, and that's fantastic. Now, a couple of points of interest. Even though those small town departments are there, I want to let everybody know something that we're going to come back to, and it's very important. The Henry County Sheriff's Department gets 100% of the public safety tax base from Henry County. Okay, it doesn't divide that up with those small departments that I was just mentioning. There's no division within the law enforcement breakdown in Henry County. That Newcastle gets it, and Newcastle gets their money, and beyond that, the Sheriff's Department gets the rest of that, okay? So then beyond that, the amount of money that the Sheriff's Department gets out of the county budget is just mind-boggling, the amount of money that they just yearly get. Because, look, it takes a lot of money to run the department, to run the jail, to do what they've got to do. I understand that. I'm not saying it doesn't. And I'm not somebody that is out here bagging on cops. I'm a former police officer. I'm not out here trying to knock police in any way. I support law enforcement, support good law enforcement, and I want bad law enforcement the hell out of the way. It's just as easy as it gets, okay? I can't say it. I can't say it any other way. Good law enforcement, I applaud. Bad law enforcement, they got to go, all right? So what we need to understand here is what he was doing in order that these people felt like he was trying to fight with them. So basically how law enforcement in Indiana works, okay? You have the state police, you have DNR, which is, affectionately called the bunny police, or the conservation officers, the deer police. Those are state police officials. And then you have city officers, town officers, and county officers. All right. And then the Law Enforcement Academy has a couple different tiers. Okay. Your sheriff's department, your city police officers, and the majority of the town officers, like in Delaware County and a lot of other places, all go through ILEA, police academy, and they all have the same training, and they all have statewide police jurisdiction. All right. They all have police powers statewide. That being said, there is a tier 2 that drops down that is a town marshal academy. And if police officers go through that, they only have jurisdiction within their town. Okay. That's the academy. So those are officers that you would call, quote unquote, full time. Full time. Okay. For the officers that want to be reserve officers, okay, for the officers that want to be reserve, you're talking about a 40-hour pre-basic. It means if John Doe wakes up and wants to be a reserve officer, he walks into his little town department, he fills out his application, he does that, he gives it to him, and they say, okay, we're going to get you in a 40-hour pre-basic. He goes and he studies its classroom work for 40 hours. And then they say, okay, we've got to get you qualified with your handgun. We've got to get you through driving, a little bit of driving, with a driving instructor. And, we got to get you CPR certified. And they give them a badge and they say, there you go. And you're put out with a field training officer, which may or may not be another full-time officer. It might be another reserve. Who knows? And then you're free to go. And that's what I was telling Lenny, you last night, that you need to wait till you hear what we're getting ready to talk about. So the phone calls that I started getting on Wednesday said, well, let me back up. Generally, how law enforcement works throughout Indiana, I'll tell you how it works here in Delaware County. Muncie police officers answer calls for service inside Muncie. Albany police officers answer calls for service inside Albany, a little town. Gaston answers calls for service in Gaston. Daleville answers calls for service in Daleville. Yorktown in Yorktown. The same as the same as this map of Henry County. Newcastle's going to answer the calls for service in Newcastle. Mount Summit's going to answer the calls for service in their little community, and Kennard's going to answer in their little area. However, you have officers that will assist each other because you have these agreements, mutual aid agreements, where they'll back each other up. If you're talking about a situation where on a midnight, you've only got 3 or 4 county deputies out for the entire county. If you've got an officer that needs backup and he's, 15 minutes from the nearest officer getting there even by lights, these officers from these small towns can sometimes supplement that. Or if the county's busy, you might get dispatch calling a cop from outside of their town, and they might come outside of their town a little bit and go jump a call because they help each other out. This is a common thing that happens in law enforcement. Well, I was sent an email, and I'm gonna show you this email right here. Okay. And this is what first started all of this off. Okay. Back in May, John Sproles, the sheriff of, what happened here? The sheriff of Henry County sent out this email that you see here on your screen to the town board members or the town clerks from all of these little towns. And it says, greetings, town clerks. Josh Smith is the chief deputy. Okay. the chief deputy of the sheriff's department, and he is sending this out as a directive from the sheriff. So he's doing this at the sheriff's direction. He says, "Greetings, town clerks. Sheriff John M. Sproles and I have been in much conversation in regards to town marshals and deputy marshals. It has come to our attention that some, but not all, of these marshals or deputy marshals have recently taken calls and made traffic stops outside of their town's corporate limits. Quite frankly, some have even taken calls outside of their corporate town limits, more calls outside of their corporate town limits than inside the corporate limits. Under normal conditions, this is unacceptable for law enforcement officers to do. However, when the sheriff's office receives multiple complaints from citizens who have had negative encounters with town marshals or deputy marshals while actively engaged in law enforcement functions outside of their town's corporate limits, this becomes a great concern of the sheriff's office. We have even received reports from law enforcement officers outside of Henry County reporting that town or deputy marshals that receive their powers from towns within Henry County have been seen making traffic stops in unmarked vehicles while not in uniform, which is against the law. All right. In the state of Indiana, to perform a traffic stop, a police officer needs to be in a fully marked police car and full uniform, or a fully marked police car and plain clothes, or an unmarked car and full uniform. What cannot happen is someone cannot be in a plain unmarked car in plain clothes and make a traffic stop. That's against the law. All right, he goes on. The sheriff is currently considering how his office is to respond to the numerous complaints. Remember that word, remember that phrase, numerous complaints from citizens within Henry County. As part of the sheriff's response to best address the issues at hand, he is requesting that each town having a town marshal please provide to the chief deputy by email the local ordinance that is required by Indiana Code 36576A and stipulates the amount of deputy marshals allowed by that ordinance enacted by your town board. Furthermore, the sheriff who feels it is imperative that we know who is working as law enforcement officer in our county, especially when many of these marshals and deputy marshals don't even live in Henry County, is also respectfully requesting the names, titles, officers' contact information, i.e. phone numbers, addresses, dates of birth, as the amount of marshals and deputy marshals serving this county have grown significantly. Having a quick reference of who these officers are will be of tremendous value for the communication, transparency, and accountability. Please know that we have a great working relationship with town marshals and deputy marshals serving in your community. However, there is a growing concern with the sheriff's office and local police departments within the state of Indiana that some small towns have become nothing more than a badge factory for individuals wishing to make a full-time living working security in places like Indianapolis and Evansville. Even members of the Indiana State Police have expressed great concern over the lack of accountability and the amount of deputy marshals that some towns have employed. Some of these individuals are skirting under the radar and may not fully be vetted through lengthy and thorough background investigation that you will find most larger agencies conduct. Again, a great concern is many of these individuals are not even residents of the county which they serve. One must ask the question, why? Why are these individuals not serving in their own small town communities? We understand this is not something that you all deal with on a regular basis, but this is our world, and we are very concerned that these things are getting out of hand, and our citizens are the ones that will suffer. Okay, so kind regards, Josh Smith. So this was sent out in May. All right. This was sent out in May. And what happened was the town board members and the towns all gave this to the chiefs of police, and the town marshals and chiefs in these small towns were like, okay, what is this? It makes sense. All right. It makes sense that the dispatch center that's dispatching these calls would have a list of all of the officers working. I completely understand that. I am also not okay with somebody coming out and becoming a reserve just because they want to get girls, because they want to get free food, because they've got a uniform or they've got a badge. I'm not out here. I'm not okay with people just becoming police because it's a cool thing to do and they think that they can get out of tickets. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. All right. So I get the message they're trying to convey. But at the end of the day, what I feel needed to happen was the sheriff needed to go to these town boards and communicate with them and say, hey, I think this is happening. The sheriff now, as sheriff, he wears many hats, and John Sproles needs to learn this. He's no longer gung-ho, Dudley Do-Right charging in to save the day and shoot somebody, in the jail with a beanbag gun or whatnot. He is there to lead and communicate and direct. If he's having issues, he needs to talk to those town boards and those chiefs and those towns directly, because at the end of the day, it's their liability. Okay, it's the liability for those communities. So I think some of the towns complied with this request and some did not. All right. And look, at the end of the day, we can have a conversation at another day about what it takes to be a police officer. Should they have more training? Should they have less training? They obviously need not less training. They need more training. They need lots more of it. And we can talk about the need for marked cars, unmarked cars, and all of that. Okay. That's not what this conversation about. This conversation is simply about what the sheriff is doing with, I believe, unchecked ego, and how it's going to hurt the citizens of the community. Okay. And this is why I say that, because not many people in Henry County responded to this initial email. Okay. So the sheriff didn't like that. The sheriff didn't like that his email went, his nice demand for information went unanswered. So on June 27th, the sheriff of Henry County himself sent out the email that you're getting ready to see here. And this is the email that he sent out on the 27th. And this was from, this came directly from Jay Sproles, the sheriff. And it says, from Jay Sproles, Tuesday, June 27th, emergency calls only directive. Now listen to this. To whom it may concern, please consider this writ as a directive from the sheriff of Henry County. As of Monday, July 10th, 2023, the Henry County Sheriff's Office will no longer be responding to non-emergency calls inside the town limits of all of the towns in Henry County that utilize a town marshal law enforcement system. All right. As of this coming Monday, the Henry County Sheriff's Department will no longer respond to non-emergency calls inside the small towns in these departments. Look how many small towns are on this map. That's a whole lot of the county that the sheriff is saying he's no longer, Alva's getting the point right here. You're getting the point, sir. All right. Look, this is going to be a little bit longer video. You're going to have to bear with me because I'm going to walk you down a path and you're all going to be outraged at the end of this. Okay. You're exactly right, Alva. All right. Now let's go back to this email. As of the July 10th, we're no longer going to be responding to non-emergency calls. Well, what is a non-emergency call? All right. What is a non-emergency call? A non-emergency call is a call that is what would you guys think it is in the comments? Would you think a burglary is an emergency call? Okay. A Teresa Jo Lehman Hargis. I'm not arguing with you that he's a very smart man. My problem is he just doesn't have much training and experience on the sheriff's department. And my worry is the amount of knowledge that he does not have to lead a department the size of his department. That's the worry. Yes. A fight in your front yard is an emergency call. A burglary in action is an emergency call. An emergency call would be you found a dead body, or you found somebody that's unresponsive. An emergency call would be a vehicle accident with injury. All right. A sexual assault, either in progress or a sexual assault that just took place and the suspect is gone. Okay. You might not have somebody who is necessarily being hurt at that moment, but that is a traumatic event. What is a non-emergency call? A non-emergency call. Well, let me use the example that the sheriff used yesterday. Let's say you live on an acre of land and you've got 3 lawnmowers locked up in your garage, and all winter long, you didn't notice, but somebody got into your garage and stole one of your lawnmowers. And then 3 months later, you go out in spring and you noticed one of your lawnmowers was stolen. You don't know when, okay? You don't know when it was taken. You don't know how it was taken. You don't know who took it, but you know that one of your lawnmowers is taken. All right. That's a theft. It's quite possibly some form of maybe burglary, depending on how the garage was locked up or whatever. Okay. So now you call the sheriff's department, and that's non-emergency. Maybe you're sitting in a private parking lot, and you're in a parking space, and somebody rolls into your car and crashes your front light and busts your front light out. All right, you've had a little bit of a fender bender, but you're just sitting there and no one's hurt. That's like a non-emergency call. All right, I agree. Those calls, you don't need to run their lights and siren. You don't need to run there as fast as possible. But anybody that's been in law enforcement, anybody that's been around, okay, for any length of time knows that there are calls that are non-emergency that pop off and instantly turn into an emergency call at the drop of a hat. So this is a kind of a sticky line for me, all right? Let's keep reading, all right? It shall not be the responsibility of the Henry County Emergency Services dispatcher to determine the emergency status of the call. They'll take the call in and they'll dispatch the call out. There are no protocols being changed at the dispatch center in regard to this directive. So basically, a call will come in from Kennard, a small town, and they'll say there's a call, and a Henry County Sheriff's deputy might get dispatched there because Kennard doesn't have a deputy on at that time. Some of these departments don't have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage. It's spotty, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to do the following. It shall be the responsibility of the on-duty county sheriff's department supervisor to make the final determination of what a call will be deemed as an emergency. If the on-duty Henry County Sheriff's Office supervisor deems the call to be a non-emergency, that does not have an urgent time restriction on a generated police report, our supervisor will contact the complainant, the person who made the call, and will advise them that they need to contact their local town marshal on the town's advertised police department phone number. It shall not be the responsibility of the sheriff supervisor to know that phone number of the town marshal agency or to advise the complainant as such. So this is what they're saying. Instead of saying, if we get a call and we've dispatched a deputy, instead of saying we'll try to then dispatch a town cop, what they're saying is they want the sheriff's department supervisor to call the person back and say, hey, you need to call the office, and if you could find the number, goodbye. And maybe you're a woman out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know how to look it up. You don't have good service, or who knows what's going on. Now you got to fiddle fart around trying to find this number. And the other thing is, these small town departments, a lot of times they have one officer on duty. And if that officer is out patrolling around, well, then they're not at the office to take the phone calls. Dispatch center's the dispatch center. That's how the officers get notified of this stuff. So doing this doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let's get back to the email. Okay. So the Henry County Sheriff's deputy is going to contact the complainant back and say, you've got to call the deputy, maybe it'll be Monday, who knows. Also included in this directive is the request that town marshal agencies not perform routine patrols or traffic stops outside of their incorporated city limits within Henry County. I regularly field complaints, keep that word complaints in your mind, regarding unmarked vehicles performing regular patrols and or making traffic stops in the areas that are well outside of the city limits of town marshal agencies. I have received numerous complaints from other police agencies and officers on unmarked vehicles making traffic stops up to an hour and a half from our county. Now, I agree with him. That's out of control. That is obscene. When he took that complaint, he should have dealt with that right then. Writing it out in this email doesn't make a lot of sense. We'll get back to that. These agencies and these officers have ran the plates on the unmarked vehicles, and they've returned to town marshal agencies in our county. There have been complaints on routine patrols by multiple different unmarked vehicles, causing citizens to feel concerned and uncomfortable. I am requesting a meeting with all town marshals and town board representatives, meaning the town councils, at 6 p.m. on July 6th, 2023 in the training room at the Henry County Sheriff's Office. This will be a question and answer session in regard to these directives. Also, I request that you provide an updated roster of your town marshal and town deputy marshals, as well as the town ordinance specifying the amount of deputies the town marshal is allowed to have. Respectfully, Sheriff Sproles. All right. Now, I want to be very clear. I understand some of what he's doing. All right. And I get some of what he's doing. This is a case of the message may be good, but the messenger is broken and the way he delivers it is completely shitty. All right. He's asking these people to do things they don't technically have to do, and he has no authority to make them do it. All right. He's the sheriff. He's in charge of his office. He's not in charge of these other officers. Okay. So this is a very very strange situation here. So I thought, they're going to hold a meeting on Thursday the 6th. What a good time for Josh and I to head down to Henry County and check Henry County out and see what they've got going on, see what this sheriff is talking about. I had some serious questions. Number one, how much of this sheriff's office is spent taking calls in different communities like this? Is it 30% of the time? Is it 40% of the time? Because if it, let's just say for the sake of argument, because I didn't get a chance to ask him this and he didn't answer, but I'll try to find this out from him. If he says that his agency answers calls in other small towns 30% of the time, and come Monday the 10th, they're going to stop that, then I believe he needs to be prepared to give up 30% of his men, 30% of his budget, and, be done with it like that. All right. So Josh and I decided to visit this meeting, and we were able to get in there. They were very welcoming. They did not cause us any kind of issue whatsoever. They welcomed us. They welcomed us in, and I'm going to take you to that video right now. We're going to listen to some of this, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you information. Right. Keep that in mind, Diane. Keep that in mind. Okay. Let's listen to the sheriff here in his own words on some of this.
I've got calls from out of county on the other side of Indianapolis. Hey, there's a guy at Unmarked something, pulled people over, not in uniform. I ran his plate, wondered who it was. Comes back to a little town in your county where you know about these guys. And so, I am not the controller of all things police, for sure. But I am just getting bombarded with our people calling, out of town people calling. And so I just want to get on the same page with you all. I want to talk, the main thing I want to talk about is the directive that I sent out. The directive was, I thought, pretty basic, simply saying that we are not going to respond to non-emergency calls in towns that utilize a town marshal system. So I got a call from one. He said, "What's a non-emergency call?" And I said, "A non-emergency call. There's a million different types of calls, but some are emergency, some are not, and that is up to the officer usually to decide and figure out." So we have been dealing with, like I said, a lot of complaints. I had a call from Westwood Park, and they said, who are the officers? We've got unmarked cars patrolling through here regularly, and our people are freaked out. We've got campers that say, "Hey, I've had 4 unmarked cars come through here. What's going on? Who are they looking for?" And so this type of thing is what I'm trying to get a handle on. I understand that we all have statewide powers. I also understand that I can't say you can't patrol here, but I'm trying to just get on the same page of where we're patrolling, what we're doing, who's covering what calls. And so I just want to open up for questions. I've got some other comments. Can you open it up for questions on this directive? Because that was the main reason for this meeting.
Does anyone need a copy of that directive?
So I emailed it out. If anybody needs a copy, we'll get you one. Email it out to all the marshals and the town clerks. Let's do this. Let's break the ice by, let's have everybody introduce where they're from, just so we can get an idea of who all we have here.
Jeff Murray, Moreland Police Department, town marshal, 22 years.
Chris Rifle, Canada.
Steve Warsham, Canada.
Kristopher H, town board president. Carol, some of town board.
He goes through and they do this great big ice breaking thing, and they've got the whole state police there for no real reason. They said nothing, did nothing.
Probably too many. That number.
Give me a guess. Somebody give me a number guess.
80.
Okay. 65. So when you look at the numbers, we have 65 town marshals in the county of Henry. And again, that is not, even though that Middletown is a town marshal agency and Knightstown is a town marshal agency.
And what he's saying there is ignorant. They don't have 65 town marshals. What he's saying is making up all of the officers on all of the departments. Okay? They've got 14 small town departments. Or excuse me, they've got 14 police agencies in Henry County, not including Henry County Sheriff's Department and not including the Newcastle Police Department. They've got 12. Now you take it down to Knightstown and Middletown. Well, he didn't include Knightstown and Middletown in this. So you have 10 police agencies. All right. So you've got 10 police agencies here. And out of the 10 police agencies here, you have 65 officers across 10 agencies. Okay. Now, I get it. I get where he's going. That might be much. And I agree. That's probably a lot. And there's one that has a lot of officers. But that liability comes back at the end of the day on that town. If they do something wrong, that's on the town. The town needs to deal with that. The sheriff cannot dictate that. All right, let's go on.
That does not include them. So we have 65 people that have full police powers. Those 65 people cover 1,800 residents. Okay, 65 people to cover 1,800 residents. We have 28 Henry County Sheriff's Department full-time guys to cover, well, the county, I guess you pulled 1,800.
Diane, Knightstown has 4 officers, 4 full-time. But how many reserves does Knightstown have?
We're pushing 50,000. So when you look at resources and when you look at the total amount of non-emergency calls, there's not too many of them that come out of the small communities. And so there is some frustration with the town marshals and their deputies not, for lack of a better term, doing the real police work. They'll come in and burn the radio up, pulling everybody over that moves, and then they're gone. And you know, if we get a call of, hey, I just walked in my garage and I hadn't been in there for 3 months and I'm missing my mower and all that. I feel like that is something that in a town, and I'm going to use Greensboro for instance, there's 130 residents in Greensboro and there are 22 officers. That is one officer per, what is that, 4 or 5 people. I feel like that it's only fair and reasonable, since that's not an emergency call, it does not need somebody on scene immediately. That's something that the town marshal, I just think that's what town marshals are there for. You've got a police agency with 22 officers. The random calls here and there like that, and pick on Jeff Murray. I mean, Jeff's done this for 20-some years. He deals with the little goofy odds and ends all the time. So I don't want to say it's punishment, but I would say that if, you know, if we're going to, I'm going to be careful with this term, but we'll come down and be a cop, let's do the full, let's do the full thing. So when I got the pushback that I did on it, I'll be honest with you, it just shocked me because there's not a lot of non-emergency calls. And it shocked me that I got the pushback. So I had to ask myself.
One of the things I want everyone to do is I want everybody to notice his demeanor. All right? He's very calm. Sometimes he laughs, he jokes, because here in a minute, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind.
Why so much pushback? So I guess that with you guys here, what is upsetting about that? Let's open up for comments there.
So my question is, if Woodland residents calls dispatch and they think what's happening is a true emergency, at that point, who's determining emergency or not emergency? Dispatch or?
So I think that's clarified in the directive that I sent out.
Well, without.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So it shall be the responsibility of the on-duty Kent County Sheriff's Office supervisor to make the final determination of what calls will be deemed an emergency. If the on-duty HCSO supervisor deems
I thought it was weird that he couldn't answer the question without reading it. He had to go and read it. He couldn't just tell her. So it was very weird that happened. I don't know why that happened.
That does not have an urgent time restriction on a generated police report, our supervisor will contact the complainant, the one who called about it, and advise them that they need to contact their local town marshal. So I want you all to understand this. We're not looking, no, that's not emergency. We're not doing it. That's not what we're looking for. We are going to respond to questionable things. But it is not the dispatches. I'm not going to put that on them. You know, anytime you get a call as a police officer, you personally have to determine, is this an emergency? Do I turn my lights and siren on or not? That is a call that every officer makes every time the radio keys up. Is this an emergency that I need to get there quick and hit the lights and siren and go? So those kind of decisions are not, they are at every call. That the police officers make that decision with every call. Any other questions on like I said, the pushback that I've got and heard around? I want to hear it publicly. That way we can all try to get on the same page.
I'll just say this, I feel like it was offensive to me for the time that I've put in, all the years that I've put in to work in my community. And I have been around through several sheriffs. I've been through several town boards. And if anybody knows, anytime you can stick around for a small town board, you've done something. So, because they change like underwear. I mean, that's the way it works. And I was offended by the fact that I try to do everything I can. If dispatch calls me and says, hey, the county's busy, can you take a call in Winston? Sure, no problem. Or I've even called one of my guys if I'm not available. Hey, you guys run up there and take this. We have a backup plan. I just felt like I was drawing a line in the sand to me by saying, this is what I'm going to do. And that's how it came across. And maybe it was just unexpected. Maybe that's what it was. But I felt like that there's always been a lot of give and take, and it just didn't seem like everybody wanted to be on the same team now. It's like all of a sudden we're not going to participate with you. We don't want to do that. That was my take.
So what that chief says there is we've always kind of helped each other out. So I just don't know why all of a sudden, because I'm going to be very clear with you. The sheriff is mad at one town. He's mad at Greensboro town police department. And instead of just dealing with them, instead of the father going in and punishing the one kid in front of all the other kids, he's punishing all of the kids for the action of that one kid. And this doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mine could be completely different than somebody else.
No, and I appreciate that. We all have our own takes on any given situation. So I'm not going to fault you for that. surely not trying to be offensive to you. I think I have pointed you out several times on how you've done a good job. So, what is very clear, and I know you said you've been through several sheriffs and through town board for a long time, and congratulations on that, because that is an accomplishment. I haven't had to deal with town boards, but one thing that I did make very clear.
No, you're right. You haven't had to deal with town boards, but you've got a county council that's your budget, your purse strings, and you have county commissioners that are the legislative body, and you have to be able to work with them. And word on the street is you're not doing very well with that.
Even in campaigning, I talked about special deputies, and you talk about flack. Guys, I have had some flack like you would not believe. People coming in and slamming down badges. Well, my law enforcement career's over. I gave it my best. And you've never been a law enforcement officer. You used that badge 5 weeks ago to flash one of your.
All right, I'm going to move past this. You guys can watch this in your own time. He's talking about when he first became sheriff. He said that he was going to do away with the special deputies. And basically what he did was he got rid of a bunch of special deputies that other sheriffs had put on. And then he turned right around and he gave all his buddies special deputies badges and whatnot.
For our special deputy badges, I said, what do you do? All right, you're not going to be a special deputy for another 24 hours. And I don't mean to be ugly, guys, but there it is. I come from a business background where liability, listen, I've been on the wrong end times, they'll just pay that out. Well, we're going to pay a couple of is the liability, we're going to at least get together and try to get on the same page. And again, that's back to the reason for the meeting tonight. But we have dealt with a lot of frustrating issues where we're running into officers way outside of their limits. And I'm just going to go back to the Westwood Park thing. That just kind of shocked me. First of all, why are you patrolling Westwood Park? I know it's only 2 miles, 3 miles from here. And I'll be honest with you, this sounds bad, but I don't see, is anybody here from Greensboro? Not surprised, to be honest with you. I had a conversation with the chief of police there, and I want to be careful because I can get uptight about that. But I asked him, who with good sense would you guys send 5 different unmarked cars through a campsite area? You know those people like, crap, didn't let's load up. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. What is going on? And you'll see notes put in our CAD system. 5 campsites utilized, all quiet. What is going on? And I'm sorry, I'm just getting on.
It sounds like policing to me. It sounds like an officer rode through a camp place where sometimes there can be craziness. And I mean, I'm confused, but okay, maybe he's got a problem with that. All right, I'll move on.
But there is some frustrations that occur, and I want you guys to be aware of it. Again, this is not an easy conversation, but I want you to be aware that it does generate frustrations with law enforcement officers who
nobody's even here with the problem child.
They do it full time for the low pay, and then you've got badge factories. And guys, here's the bottom line: it's simply what some of these places are. They are badge factories. That's it. They're not from around here. Since Greensboro's not here, I know it's on camera, but you know, I would rather them be here, but they can watch it on camera. 22 police officers in Greensboro, as I said. You know how many of them have a 765 area code? 0. Not one of them. Not one of them have a 765 area code, and there's 22 of them in Greensboro of a town of 130. Here's the bottom line.
And the bottom line is that is on Greensboro. I don't like that. I understand what Sheriff Sproles is saying, but he needs to be communicating with the town board and explaining that to them with people who probably don't even understand what they're doing or the liability is. What he's doing here in this meeting is pointless because Greensboro is not even here.
It is a badge factory. That's all it is. they have had somebody talk them into starting a police department. I'm going to talk about that for a second. This just ties into the concerns that I have. We'll talk about starting a police department. I was eating ice cream in the Ace Hardware parking lot the other day. And just looking at State Road 3, I saw a black unmarked Charger.
All right. Now, this is very important to listen to what he's saying here, folks. Listen to what the sheriff of Henry County is saying right here. Listen to this story. I love his stories that he tells us. Let's hear it. Let's hear his story.
Unmarked Charger with spotlight. We'll talk about starting a police department. I was eating ice cream in the Ace Hardware parking lot the other day. And just looking at State Road 3, I saw a black unmarked Charger with spotlights on both sides. Excuse me. So I thought, I'm going to go catch up with him and see who it is. I pull up to him. There's no plate on it at all. No plate, just no markings, no plate. And so I was off duty, not in uniform.
All right. So off-duty sheriff, not in uniform, in an unmarked car. Off-duty sheriff, not in uniform, in an unmarked car.
On both sides. Excuse me. So I thought, I'm going to go catch up with him and see who it is. I pull up to him. There's no plate on it at all. No plate, just no markings, no plate. And so I was off duty, not in uniform, so I called the city, had them start a unit. And when he said he's getting pretty close, there was a safe area for him, so I'm going to go ahead and line him up. So I walk up to him and I say,
Yeah, see, what we skipped over, what he mush mouthed through was he called the city. All right, he called the city. And he told the city, send me a unit. They started a unit. And he said, we were in a safe area, so I lit them up and I walked up to him. So Sheriff Sproles, while off duty, was in an unmarked vehicle and plain clothes, and he pulled this person over, and he got out and he walked up performing a traffic stop on a citizen in an unmarked vehicle in plain clothes. That is not legal. His chief deputy said it in his email when he wrote the email to all of the other people. He wrote it clear as day. He wrote it clear as day. That it's not it is we have been seeing reporting that town deputy marshals that receive their powers from towns within Henry County have been seen making traffic stops in unmarked vehicles while not in uniform, which is against the law. So I'm glad I'm glad that we could admit that the sheriff admit that he did this. This is very. He lit this guy up, and then this happened.
I said, hey, I'm trying to keep it light. I said, hey, listen, I've got a marked unit pulling up here. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, I've got a marked on duty unit. He said, I still don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, obviously not a police officer. Step out here and talk to him. So I said, are you a police officer? He said, kind of. I said, okay, what does kind of mean? He said, well, I was a caddis police officer recently.
So then he goes into this long-ass story about how basically there's two men, both in unmarked cars, performing traffic stops out on the side of the road. Neither one of them are in marked cars, and a whole bunch of hilarity ensued. And it was just a very, very strange situation. I cannot believe he admitted that with the prosecutor sitting there, with a room full of ISP officers sitting there. I can't believe he admitted that on camera. Insane.
The other guy was going to get it. So I said, where's that? I said, I think it's somewhere near I-70. I said, okay. Who's your buddy that's trying to start Detroit, Michigan? You forgot the. That's my concern. We have got rogue police officers. We have officers that have been arrested multiple times, some of them on some of the departments that are represented, not represented, been arrested multiple times. They get it expunged or something, and just so everybody is clear on this, because we have people say, hey, I've had something expunged, we can't talk about it. No. State statute says that if you've had an expunged record, law enforcement and corrections can still use that expunged record to either not hire you or fire you. So if you've ever heard the, well, it was expunged, it's all good, law enforcement agencies can look at that data. You have to produce that. So I do know this. I know that we've got multiple people working in this county that have multiple arrests. One of these state police officers knows very well that there is a very serious issue that is trying to come together. That's a good way to say it, isn't it? Trying to come together, and it would blow your mind the level of criminality that will be walking the street with the police uniform. We have a picture of them with the police uniform. It's shocking. You go from all of the prison uniforms that they've got and all of the markings to the next picture, police. And you know what they're doing? They're preying on little towns. Hey, we can come start a police department. We'll give you 24-hour coverage. You can pay us $1 a year. We'll buy our own cars. You can lease them for $1.
And let me tell you, the reason why people are doing this, and let me be very clear why people are doing this. What they're talking about here is essentially reserves and even full-time officers on the side. They can get paid to do security. They can get paid to sit on the side of the road behind construction crews for 8 hours a day. They can get paid to go stand in the mall someplace, or to go stand at the Apple store down in Indy, and they can make 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks an hour doing this, okay? I've heard a lot of people say that the reason he's mad about this is because all of these small town officers are getting all of this and his guys aren't getting anything. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just something I heard. That was one thing I heard. We'll go on down the road.
It is a phenomenal problem, and I know that I sound harsh. I don't know how else to put it. This is a problem, a big-time problem, and somebody's going to get wrapped up in a big-time problem with it, and a big-time lawsuit. So here's my...
And at the end of the day, that then falls on that town. It doesn't, I mean, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink, Sheriff.
Request.
Hey, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Can I touch on something?
Yes, you can.
Hey, so my name's Justin Wardlow, the Assistant Chief of Police for Newcastle Police Department. Chief Schofield can't be here this evening. He unfortunately had a family emergency, or else he would be here. But I had a...
Okay, so then the deputy chief from Newcastle launches into a story, and you can watch this on the full video.
A marked police car.
Okay.
Everybody knows who they are, and I appreciate the people that are doing their part.
Here sounds like a... Okay, here's my question for the sheriff.
Actions that person has in their lifetime. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I just want to follow up on that.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
I've got a quick question as far as taxpayers go. Everything that you guys are saying here sounds like I agree with you 100%. It's a serious problem. Sounds like state legislature needs to be working on it. Sounds like there are serious issues here, and I agree with everything you're saying. But not to be flip, it sounds like a law enforcement issue, law enforcement problem. My question is, the citizens from Sulphur Springs, the citizens from Mount Summit and all the other small communities, they're also tax-paying citizens of Henry County. So my question is, does the sheriff's department not, where does the sheriff's department go as far as feeling the obligation to those citizens who call in for a non-emergency? Because the other thing is, as you all are very well aware, non-emergency calls a lot of times can flip and change into a emergent situation. So, as far as the citizens and the taxpayers are concerned, what's your thoughts there?
So I don't know the setup with town marshals. I am assuming that, that some town marshals are paid. Is there any town marshal in here, any actual marshal?
The bottom line is, when you live in unincorporated Henry County, you're a Henry County citizen. When you live in Newcastle, you're a citizen of Newcastle, but you're also a citizen of Henry County. When you live in Kennard, you're a citizen of Kennard, but you're also a citizen of Henry County. So you're paying this. And that comes back to, at the end of the day, folks, at the end of the day, we need to remember that this man standing here, right here, and all of the other officers in Brown, their department is getting 100% of the public safety tax base for the county. For the county. They're taking 100% of the public safety tax base. That means they should be doing 100% of the runs. Anything that the town sheriff, the town marshals do is just extra help bonus. The sheriff's department is getting 100% of the public safety tax base for the county, including the small towns. They should be responsible for 100% of the runs, period. When he says we're not going to be helping the citizens in these towns, we're not going to be taking, because look, it's not hurting the law enforcement. It's hurting the citizens. Those citizens that elected him. Those citizens that elected him. All right? And we need to be real clear here. He likes to claim that he has a mandate. He likes to claim that he has a mandate and that the citizens of Henry County elected him full force over anyone else. And I just want to walk through what that mandate means exactly. Okay. I just want to look at this for 1 second. All right. We'll look at this as okay. Here's the primary. May 3rd of last year, 41 precincts. In May, in the primary, there were 30,988 registered voters. Of those 30,988 registered voters, 7,068 cast ballots. That's a very, very small number. 6,244 of them casted Republican ballots, and 824 cast Democrat ballots. Okay. I'm going to take you down here and I'm going to show you the Republican sheriff's race. Here's the Republican sheriff's race right here. All right. John Sproles received 2,898 votes. All right. The next closest person to him was Jay Davis at 1,479. The next closest person was Jason Williams at 900. And then James Nicholson. Okay. So that's how that fell. So John Sproles won the sheriff's race in the primary easily, hands down. Now I want to take you to the race in November. Okay. November 8th, 2022. All right. I want to show you, I just want to kind of break apart the sheriff's claim that he has a mandate. All right. A mandate would be there's 31,000 registered voters, 31 in November of 2022. There was 31,198. All right. At this same time, there was also a total population in Henry County of 48,938. So there was there are over 10,000 citizens in Henry County that are not even registered. Obviously, they're children or otherwise non-registered citizens. But there are 31,198 registered people in Henry County. Only 13,674 of them cast ballots. All right. Only 13,674 cast ballots. All right. So that's a 43.83% turnout. All right. Of that, 4,359 of them, 4,359 cast Republican straight party ballot. It didn't matter who was on the ballot. They were voting Republican. It didn't matter. Republican, and then that was it. 1,263 voted Democrat. All right, straight party. That's what it was. 35 voted Libertarian. All right. John Sproles, who was the sheriff, who's the sheriff, all right. Now, where we're at here. He received 9,582 votes. Landon Dean received 3,814 votes. So I want to be clear. 9,582 people voted for John Sproles. 9,582 people voted for him out of 48,935. So Henry County has a population of 48,935 citizens, of which 9,582 people voted for him. What that means is 39,353 did not vote for him. So honestly, the mandate is nobody cares about this. Nobody cared. The people didn't care enough about that. 3,814 people voted for Landon Dean. Okay. So truthfully, there were, out of the registered voters, 21,616 people did not vote for Sproles. That's 69%. If you want to talk about a mandate, here's your mandate. All right. Here's the mandate, ladies and gentlemen. This is a mandate.
That is not paid. So they're paid through their city. Mm-hmm. And so they would have an obligation as well. We are an emergency services provider. So, where do you draw that line? It's a good question.
You're right, Diane.
It's tough. It has to be done on an individual basis. Where do you draw the line all the way down to, we get calls about civil issues. Sorry, it's a civil issue. I don't care. You're the police and we can't. So I want everybody to understand this. I am not going to, if I have somebody call and say, hey, look, I can't get my town marshal out here to do a report on this stolen lawnmower that I just realized 8 months into it. We're going to come help. We are not going to tell our citizens we're not going to do that, period. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to call their town marshal, and if they don't produce, we'll come pick up the slack. And after a while, they'll say, oh, this is a joke. We've got a joke going on here. They're coming in and playing cop and leaving. And I'll be honest with you, that would probably help cure the problem. Because my guess is, and I think I'll even ask here, how many, I'm concerned that a lot of these officers, I'm going to give you an example. One of our state trooper friends told me this just a couple days ago. He rolled up on a marshal, reserve marshal, on a traffic stop.
all of these stories he has, they're all a bunch of anecdotes that he's got, that, you know, he's just telling these stories, and it's you know, he's famously known for being very, very religious, and, you know, praise the Lord. I'm a Christian believer myself. Great and fantastic, wonderful. But he's very much like a preacher. You know, he's telling everybody's here just hungry and they're ready to go home. And he's got a big story, and everyone's like, shut up, we want to go, we're ready to go home and eat, you know. And he's still telling about this friend that told him a story this one time. Okay,
the other sheriff's association to attack this wrong ways to do things.
I want everybody to hear
But
Josh's question.
Seriously, we are dealing with this. We're getting ourselves into situations where they're way deep into a situation. Our detectives have dealt with this. Hey, but you know, we're going to plot this over to you because we have just flat screwed it up. Well, sorry, that case is done. You've got a victim that'll never get any remuneration for it because you screwed that sucker all up. It's over. Like a big, you know. I'm not going to go through. We've got a lot of. I can give you specifics for many, many things.
I got a question, Sheriff.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So there's right ways to do things and wrong ways to do things. Do you feel going after these towns is the right way to do things? I mean, I do know for sure that JD Prescott, state representative, said the Sheriff's Association came together and contacted him about this new body cam footage law that amended the law. Could you not do the same thing there, come together with the other Sheriff's Association to attack this? Because you're making this seem like it's a huge problem statewide. So instead of going after towns in your county and alienating them and causing all types of divide, shouldn't you do this the proper way and go to the Indiana General Assembly and present some type of legislation to stop this?
Let me ask you something. Have I done that?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Right. So I have. We have had many meetings.
I like his kind of smart ass flip comment there. You want to know why we don't know? We haven't heard anybody say that. I've not seen that in any of these emails that you've been sending out, Sheriff Sproles. You've not been communicating this to the public. You've been talking about having all of these complaints and all of these issues, but nobody's been seeing this. The first time you mentioned this, after you've had a problem with really one department, you smack everybody down in the entire police departments, all of the police departments in the community. Which, listen, at the end of the day, I know I got a lot of people on here who don't care about law enforcement. And look, I'm not telling you, hey, I'm not singing you a song about caring about law enforcement. At the end of the day, this is about citizens. Because when the law enforcement in Henry County inevitably devolves into this pissing match between town cops, city Newcastle cops, Henry County sheriff's deputies, when the pissing match finally erupts and everybody's saying, well, that officer's out there getting his ass beat, I'm not going there. It's 2 miles outside of my district. I don't got time for that. I ain't going to deal with that. Okay. What's going to happen is we're going to have serious issues. And when you got people that are fighting each other, it's the citizens, the taxpayers who are going to bear this burden. And it's a serious, serious issue. And that is my concern for the citizens of this community. All right. I want to be real clear. He's talking about there being 65 deputies, 65 police officers out in the county. Well, the sheriff's department has a full roster of full-time men. They have an additional 30 reserves and special deputies that he said he was going to really cut down on. Why is it all right for his department to have them and not these town departments? You know, that's very, very interesting. But the thing that people really need to understand is the fact that Sheriff Sproles and his department are receiving 100% of the tax dollars from the public safety tax base in Henry County. They're receiving 100% of the tax base, which means they own 100% of the calls. They own 100% of the citizens. That's their people, their calls. They need to be taking them. And anything that the town marshal's offices are doing is just helping out, is giving them a little bit of cushion room. But you've got Sproles here saying, we're not doing this, we're not doing this. Now, because there's a camera in the room, he's not acting as hard as he was in this directive, because it would be a little bit harder to do that. But I'm going to tell you, this directive still is in place, folks. July 10th is coming. And I'm telling you, I see some people who are leaving, but don't go nowhere, because we're getting ready to we're going to talk about some possible use of force and police brutality issues in just a moment. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. And remember how he's standing in here and having this normal conversation with all of us right here at this time, ladies and gentlemen. It would have been about 6:40 p.m. yesterday. This, where he's at right now, would have been about 6:40 yesterday, Thursday, the 6th of July. And that's going to be important here in a minute. Let's hear him answer Josh's question.
With legislative people, with the Indiana Sheriff's Association. In fact, I just left a meeting at Marion County with the Marion County Sheriff and many other sheriffs and legislatures for this exact thing. What was that meeting, 3 weeks ago? We've been working, I'm telling you, there is legislation getting generated. I'll tell you what's going to hit first. Get ready for it. The unmarked cars. It's going to hit the unmarked cars. Guys, here's the bottom line. You want to talk about, I just want to be here to protect this town? That car ought to say police. Very big, and it ought to have your town label, police. Because just like the campground scenario, you can be.
There is. It would have to be. They would have to vote to do that.
That is an unmarked. That's red. That's, dude, what is going on? If you don't get that message to your people, hey, listen, just want you to know, we're going to have 22 unmarked police cars. And guys, we've got how many do you guys have? In people that
The sheriff's department is not going to investigate their lawnmower being stolen in these little towns. They're just going to go hit the little towns, and there's nobody going to be able to investigate that. There needs to be a centralized something that's going to be able to.
So this guy brought up a good point. As soon as the bad guys hear that the sheriff's department isn't going to be handling these calls in small town departments that don't have full-time coverage, because some of these town departments, man, they can pay for, 10 hours of coverage a week. They pay for 15 hours, 20 hours of coverage a week, 20 hours of coverage a week. Man, maybe they pay for 40 hours of coverage a week. Well, there's 24 hours in a day. So, think about that. Think about that.
Take that report. Either with us working with you or whatever, right? But there has to be something there.
Right. I get that, and like I said, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. And here's the deal: there's just not enough instances that are happening. It's not going to be a big deal. When I have those situations, we're going to take care of the community. In the meantime, those citizens are going to say, I don't want to see those 10 unmarked cars down here anymore, because they couldn't even simply help me with my lawnmower.
He's got a real hard on for the unmarked car. So my question is he willing to give up his unmarked car? Why is the sheriff not out there representing his department in a fully marked car? That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see the sheriff in a fully marked car.
It may be a day or so, and so the citizens there are wondering, so who's covering us? Right.
Yeah, no, I got you. And like I said, I think you know my heart. I care about people. I also care about things being squared away. This is total chaos.
I care about people, but I also care about things being squared away. So what he's telling you there is, I care about people, but he cares about things being squared away more than caring about people.
And I'm sorry, guys. We pulled up some information the other day, and one town marshal agency has the bulk of the calls that they've been on are not inside the town. I mean, it's in CAD. You can go pull the numbers, it's in CAD. So they're not even in the town when they're there.
I will disagree with John, but again, our towns have a shooting, and we need.
But again,
You're
he's
not gonna
talking
call
about an
up
agency
and
that's not
wait for
there.
somebody to rip apart and got a ticket because I wasn't stopped for 6 seconds. I didn't know about that law. He didn't stop. He says he did. You know what, dude? Sorry, I'm throwing it out. Sproles not here. We sent out an email, and I guess you can say, well, that's none of your business. We sent out a very simple request, an official email that said, can you please send us your IC statute required resolution that says how many reserve, have 2 and 3 and 4 police officers. They found the guy, not on the call anymore. You know what he said? Agency. And I mean, who's the officer? So he gives me his name. So I get in Spillman. I open the computer up, get in Spillman. I don't have him in here.
Some small towns aren't able to purchase marked vehicles. They're using the POV.
Do you not even have your officers in Spillman? I didn't get a reply. I don't get replies anymore because of my letter. And listen, I know I sound harsh.
Oh, absolutely, Jackie. Absolutely.
I'm going to have the hard conversations. And I want you to have the hard conversations with me.
Wait till you all hear what's getting ready to be said. And if you all know people that's left this video, get them back here because we're getting ready to drop a bomb here in just a few moments.
I appreciate it. I had a laugh. I totally missed that. He said, yeah, I want to do that again.
Look at him. Look at him laughing here.
Don't not tell me.
Look at him.
So that's why I'm here. I'm open for conversation. I think we've got some more. I don't want to just go on and beat a dead horse. But guys, I'm telling you something. I'm getting phone calls regularly,
He's getting phone calls regularly, he says.
It's getting difficult. I'm telling you, that dude just wrote my sister for running that stop sign. We know he's sitting there. We can see there's 3 of them sitting there.
So is this why he's mad? His sister just got a ticket?
And I'm going to give you another example. Reading some reports. I'm telling you, if you council members, you ought to request the reports from your officers. You don't have to be a police officer with someone say, oh my word, what in the world is going on here? You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. What in the world is this? Guys, there is some phenomenal things going on that we have got to get on the same page. We cannot do this to our citizens. I know they're in your township, in your town, but it looks bad they don't really know. I mean, I guess especially when you pull over these people driving these unmarked cars and they will lie. Well, like I told that guy, you're going to do that to me. What are you give a 40-hour course that you can get done in 15 hours. Yeah. We have it in some of everybody on.
And that was, I was trying to not interrupt you guys, but, so block 10 on your affidavit, your officer affidavit, it states.
So if we roll up on somebody and we're questioning whether they're.
Okay, so they have a little bit of a pissing match back and forth.
That is where I'm trying to have clear lines of communication on. We'll talk about, but guys, please, anybody, any comments? You've been shaking your head a lot at me. You've got to have things to say. No, I'm EJ. Okay.
Well, I know you can't compare a town and tell the marshals what to do, but that was just a suggestion to kind of.
This town board member asked back here if he could come to the town councils and the town meetings and talk with the marshals there. And if he could talk to the town board members and come to all of the, go to, maybe 1 month, 1 month he goes to this town board. The next month he goes to this town board. The next month he goes to this town board. And he's like, oh no, that's not my responsibility.
Are trying to help our little communities because we are trying to clean up more. It's been a little rough.
Because we know for a fact there are some in this county working that has a criminal history, and like the sheriff said.
All right, now this right here, the guy talking right here is the chief deputy, And I want everybody to remember what he's talking about here, because we're going to talk about this in a second. And this is very important. He's talking about people working that have criminal histories and they haven't had background checks. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second.
That is my concern. And access to a computer system that has people's social security numbers in it, dates of birth, very sensitive things, victims of sex offenses.
They're talking about the Spillman account that they use, and we've talked about that on this program before. We've talked about it with Winchester. We've talked about it with other departments, okay? I want to be very clear. That account, all right, is very, very locked down. Anybody that gets in that account, they know who's in the account. Every keystroke that's made is logged, and they can run down literally everything. What they're saying is, we're really afraid of having these cops out here because they could get in and they could look at really sensitive stuff in this system. Well, I'm sorry, but if we've got cops that are looking at sensitive stuff, maybe we ought to question the whole barrel. All right. But at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to come get my gun because somebody kills people with guns. You know, if someone commits a crime, you punish the person. If somebody goes in here and does something and steals someone's social security number or takes a picture of some crime scene or something like that, and you find that out and it's caused a problem, it logs it. It tells you who it was. Investigate that case, prosecute that person, and be done with it. You don't say, all right, we're going to remove all of these people. We're going to remove you all from this CAD system because, you know, you could misuse it. Let's talk about police misusing their computer systems.
A lot of them are not even out the people in the.
I know our department runs III background checks on any reserve. I also know that because I put them into the ILEA database, it will red flag them if the III doesn't catch it. If they're
Yeah, I'm getting ready to ask another question here real quick.
So if you've got departments that are not doing that, that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you very much. That's all.
Okay, I'm just one minute that I want to have.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Just to piggyback off of the question that your town board member over there asked, the complaints that you're taking and you're getting inundated with these, are these complaints being logged someplace? Or, I mean, is this something that's public accessible? Say, hey, how many complaints are you getting? Are you logging these? Can you divide these up and say, hey, Greensboro, here's the complaints we're getting on your department. Here's the complaints we're getting on your department. I mean, is that something that you could do?
So it's not my duty when somebody calls me to gripe about the stop sign complaint.
What?
So, and they're not filing an official complaint. It's just
What? Wait. What? All of this has been based. All of this has been based on this man getting complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint. And they're not logging these complaints. These complaints, he said it's not my duty to keep track of what's going. I mean, it's what's going on here, and it's not my whatever. Wait a minute. If you're having a problem with this, and you're wanting to stop this, and you're wanting to put these people in their place, don't you think you'd start logging the complaints? Or is this more like you're wanting to shut these small towns down because you think there's more money for you, that if you shut down Sulphur Springs, you can go dig into their money pit that's there? Let me tell you, there ain't no money there, GQ Johnny. That's just not there. It's not there. All right? If you shut down Kennard, there's no money there for you, Sproles. If you shut down Knightstown or you shut down Caddis, there's no money for you. You're already getting all the money. You're getting all the money, and you're still asking for more money. There was a point in here, and I think I've already skipped past it. And I'm telling you, if you guys want to listen to this, you need to listen to the whole thing. The video, as soon as this video is over, this full video will be up. The whole hour and a half of it will be up. And if you want to hear some stuff from start to finish, that'll just absolutely blow your mind and make you sick, then you need to go give this video a listen. But don't go anywhere just yet, okay? Because we're getting ready to get to some serious questionable use of force. But we've got to get through this.
That kind of stuff. So if there is a significant issue where there would be possible criminality, that obviously we would take that and we would get a hold of the town and let them know.
We've let them know if there was criminality, but it's not our responsibility to get in check with the town unless there's anything else. Maybe what he needs to do is, I'm hearing that he still will work his old shift. He'll still work a lot of evenings. He jumps calls. Like he said the other day, he was off duty, just eating ice cream out in the parking lot. You know what? You know, the people who do what he's doing, new guys. He's an FNG. You know what an FNG stands for? In the military, in the policing world, in factories, an FNG is a fucking new guy. All right. And they get all the shit from people. Hey, FNG, go do this, go do that. But the FNG is just happy to be there. And, the FNG, I bet he gets up in the morning and he puts that uniform on and he's like, oh, I look good. And his wife's like, hey, you don't work today. And he's like, oh, that's okay. I'm just going to walk around the house in my uniform. It looks nice. He goes out and gets in his car and he goes and just eats ice cream and he turns the radio on and he's just waiting to jump calls. He's still playing road cop because that's where his mind is, because that's his mentality. Now, he got on the department late. He looks like, and he's the age of somebody that should have 15 or 20 years of service. He should be somebody that has full amount of training and time to be on that could run for sheriff. But it doesn't matter how old he is. He's only been a sheriff's deputy for 4 years. He has no business leading the whole damn department and attempting to run the whole county.
Josh, you touched on the accountability thing. I want to say this, just so you all know, some of you all might not understand this. In our database, in our Sproles database, the umpteen mega thousands of cases that are the thousands of cases.
Listen to this.
We have 65 active town marshals, many of them who don't live anywhere near here, that can come in and log in and type in pretty much anything you want to. And if you have had a family member that's been sexually molested or assaulted or something like that, there's a good chance that they can pull up all the pictures.
There's a good chance they could get on there and pull up all the pictures?
But
it would be logged if they did.
We obviously can see what everybody runs.
See it?
It's logged. I can see where they have been running license plates by the buku amounts of license plates. They're not.
So he just said he can see everything that's logged. Everybody can see everything. But he used that as being a reason why this is not a good thing. A reason why they need to shut all this down. But then he said, well, we can see everything that happens. Well, then rock and roll. So nothing has happened yet? Nothing bad. How many bad things have happened yet?
This is serious stuff.
Because if there was anyone, we wouldn't know about it because they're not going to tell them themselves.
We'll find out who is there for the badge factory. It's that clear. Prosecutor, go ahead.
I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, okay, let me get this question for you. Yes, sir.
Like you just said, you touched on there, so you can only have your powers in town. So how can you?
Anybody else have any questions? I'm not here to combat anything. I'm not going to follow. Obviously, nobody. You keep your town marshals out the door. And so I'm not going to combat anything, guys.
Here's Josh's next question.
Then you can talk bad about me and say, hey, I asked him to talk. He knows my practice.
I got one more question. after this meeting, what's your next plan forward to combat
Very,
this?
very simple. I'm not planning on combating anything. My plan forward is to take care of our citizens.
He's such a salesman. He's just not a good salesman.
Non-emergencies, the town marshal, people will do it. If they refuse to do it, we're gonna take care of them. And they'll probably sweep the town marshals out the door. And so I'm not gonna combat anything, guys. I'm here because I care about people, and I care enough about people.
Okay.
My wife told me, she said, listen.
So here's where we're going to end with him. Now, real quick, the deputy chief of the Newcastle Police Department gets up and he talks about their Spillman account. And I want you all to listen to this.
All right, so to touch on the sheriff's earlier point and Chief Deputy's earlier point, Spillman system has a tremendous amount of information in it dating back to the late 1980s. So think of, I can tell you Newcastle runs about 13 to 15,000 calls for service per year. And dating back to the late 80s, that has been reported in Spillman. There's a huge amount of information in there. If you've ever had contact with law enforcement, your information is more than likely in Spillman.
Spillman is the law enforcement CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system that they use to put all information in.
Anything worse than having a family member victimized and finding out that people that had no need to be in that report were in those reports simply for their own information. What I can tell you with Spillman is absolutely everything that's done in that system is logged. So you can pull up and look and see who's in there and see who got this report.
Okay, then use that to punish the people who would do it. And if they haven't done that yet, then it doesn't sound like that's a problem. If they do it, then punish them. I mean, they're saying these things like I couldn't imagine this stuff happening, but so I just that's that. This is the assistant chief. He's there on behalf of the chief. All right. I'm not busting this guy's balls. I like this guy and I like the chief of Newcastle. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But I think that they might be getting in bed with the sheriff here. And I'm worried about that. And we'll talk about that in a moment.
Used it over the years in various capacities, whether it was needed for internal investigations or other things of that nature. You can see exactly who accesses what information. I will tell you there have been issues with people, putting it mildly, simply looking at things they have no business to look at. Because there was a pursuit the other night, and I want to go in and read that pursuit report, even though it had nothing to do with me or my jurisdiction whatsoever. The other thing I will tell you, the Spillman was purchased in 1989 by Newcastle Police Department. When those invoices come in annually, they still come in to Newcastle Police Department. There are interlocal.
So the Newcastle city government bought Spillman, and the Newcastle city government still pays for Spillman. Now listen to what he says here.
Agreements that were done several years after that to bring the sheriff's department onto our system.
There's an interlocal agreement that the Henry County government did with the Newcastle city government to allow the sheriff's department to use Spillman. Now, Newcastle Police Department, Newcastle city government pays for Spillman, and the Henry County government pays for Spillman. All right, let's keep listening.
As such, they help pay for that bill. 911 helps pay for that bill.
911 pays for it.
Does so because that is the CAD system that we are allowing them to use to dispatch. Dispatch used to be separate entities, and we had a city and county dispatch. Later on, Middletown did an interlocal agreement to have access to Spillman and pays to be on Spillman. Knightstown has an interlocal agreement and pays to be on Spillman.
All right. So Spillman was bought by Newcastle PD. It's their toy. It's their equipment. The sheriff's department, the Middletown Police Department, and the Knightstown Police Department all pay to operate and use that to utilize it, so they should be able to utilize it. Their cities all signed interlocal agreements with the city government of Newcastle to utilize that. Listen to what he says now.
No other agency in this county contributes to that in any way, shape, or form.
None of the other agencies are paying to that. Okay, all right.
And while I'm sure probably some of the marshals know that, I'm guessing that the town board probably knows that you don't pay for this, because I would assume you would see that you're paying for something. But I'm guessing that many of you don't realize that that is a piece of equipment that is owned by Newcastle Police Department. And to be very honest with you, we are removing everybody off of Spillman that does not have an interlocal agreement with Newcastle Police Department or the city of Newcastle to have access to that equipment. This is not something that has came about quickly. This is honestly something we have been looking at.
Now, did you just catch him? He said they're going to remove everybody. They're going to remove all of the other 10 agencies that are on Spillman and have been using Spillman for who knows how long that aren't part of that interlocal agreement. Listen to this.
Years, as we have seen numbers explode. And somebody asked me earlier, does it cost you more money every time you add somebody? And so I guess I will first and foremost say, I think that's somewhat irrelevant. We go out and buy ammunition, and if they're giving me free ammunition and I choose to give it to somebody else, I guess that's my prerogative. But there's not any other equipment in law enforcement that the city purchases and then just says, hey, if anybody in the county wants this, come get it.
So I agree with him. I agree with what he's saying 100%. But to say that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't cost to add more people, that is relevant. That is important because, like, look, this dude's not paying for it out of his pocket. I mean, he might be a citizen of Newcastle, so I guess he could be being a taxpayer. But Newcastle City's paying for this. The police aren't paying for this, them personal selves. You know, I hate when government officials act like it's coming out of their pockets. I mean, it technically is if they're citizens, but I mean, it's not like his personal bank account's not paying for this. But I get what they're saying. There are agencies that have signed an interlocal agreement that are using it, and there are some that have not. And he said, we're going to be removing them. Listen to this. This is what Josh was talking about last night, and this is why we named this guy I put him up as the honorary bastard of the week.
If you want to drive
So, question before you go on, Kristopher.
Yeah, hold on, let me pause this. Yep.
So these police agencies that don't have the interlocal agreement, what does it do to their ability to do their jobs?
I will
not having access to Spillman. You're going to explain that?
That's a great question, and I will tell everybody as soon as he says what he says here.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's a great question, Kate. And I will fill everybody in here in just 1 second.
Cities operate. And everybody is going to come off of Spillman. If at some point in the future you wish to approach Chief Schofield about potentially doing an interlocal agreement to have access to that, that is something that may be entertained in the future. I will tell you it will not be in the foreseeable future.
Why?
So I will be honest with you. Every town marshal has already been removed out of the system.
Woo!
As of the end of this meeting, nobody has access to Spillman that does not have a signed interlocal agreement to access that system. With that being said, I'm sure some of you may need access to an arrest report, or I was investigating this and I had done that.
Woo, woo, woo. That's when Josh turned around to me and he was like, oh, man, this dude is a stone cold bastard, man. So listen to what just happened here. He told him, we're going to remove you all from Spillman. A matter of fact, to be honest with you, it's happening right now. All right, now we're laughing about that. And look, it's not this guy's fault. I just like kind of his tone and how he's saying it. It's kind of funny. It's just it's real crazy. Just like he's a stone cold. And I was going to say I heard something about that today. I guess they got a little kick out of that, but I'll leave that be. That being said, okay, and we're going to talk about this here in just a second, how it affects, but I want to let you guys hear the rest of what he says.
We have no intention or desire to withhold that from you.
You can contact me. I will happily give you my email address, and I will make arrangements to get you the information that you need out of Spillman. Spillman is not owned by the county. Spillman is owned by the city of Newcastle. So, effective immediately, nobody has access to Spillman that does not have a signed interlocal agreement. When we talk about paying for that, it does cost, because that is not.
Now, the thing I have a problem with here, and this, I don't have a problem with what this guy's doing. The problem I have is this is like a combined thing, okay? This is a combined thing with the sheriff, and this is why I said I like the chief of police in Newcastle, and I don't know this dude, but I liked him just from this video a little bit. He is what he is. He's just kind of a hard ass, and I get it. I can appreciate it. But my thing here is, I didn't like when he said, and he's not the one that's coming down with this. He's there representing the chief. So the chief is coming with this information, and they passed out a directive, and I got this, and this says, City of Newcastle Police Department, Spillman Technologies. Effective Thursday, July 6, 2023 at 6:47 p.m. It doesn't say that. I'm just saying that. Newcastle Police Department will be restricting access to our computer-aided dispatch CAD system. The Newcastle Police Department has been contracted with Spillman Technology since 1989 and is the only account holder in Henry County, Indiana. The Newcastle Police Department currently has an interlocal agreement with Henry County Sheriff's Department, Knightstown Police Department, and Middletown Police Department for access of use of Spillman Technology. No other law enforcement agency in Henry County has an interlocal agreement with Newcastle Police Department and or assist in paying for the annual Spillman fees or maintenance agreements. Currently, there are 10 additional law enforcement agencies that have been granted access to Spillman Technologies without requesting access through the chief of police and or without establishing an interlocal agreement with Newcastle Police Department. As a result of this and multiple instances of misuse, wait a minute, are there instances of misuse? Because if there are misuse, then let's get to prosecuting some people. If there is misuse, then you guys know who that is. Let's be doing something about it. Be calling these people out. What are you bitching about what's going to happen in the future if there's been misuse already and you've not done anything about it? That's crazy. As a direct result of this and multiple instances of misuse, Newcastle Police Department has terminated all user accounts associated with Newcastle Police Department that do not currently have an interlocal agreement in place. Respectfully, Matt Schofield. Now, I got to say this. When he said, if you're interested in the future about getting back into this, you can think about getting an interlocal agreement, but I will tell you it's not going to be for the foreseeable future. I don't understand why that is. I cannot comprehend why they wouldn't be like, come up with an interlocal agreement on Monday and we'll let you in. Why are they holding it off? Why are they saying not for the foreseeable future? What's the point of that? What are they getting for that? Why are they pushing this off? And to do what they did, to kick them off at 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday, the 6th, was weird. It would have made more sense if they would have said, well, here's what we're going to do. We've already paid it through this year, so here's what we're going to do. Anyone that is non-paying member that does not have an interlocal agreement, we're going to give you 60 days. We're going to give you 90 days. We're going to give you until 11:59 on December 31st. And anybody who in that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, anybody who by December 31st hasn't given us an interlocal agreement, we haven't voted on that and done that, and anybody who's no longer, not paying, we will remove you at that point. There are departments that have maybe active ongoing cases that are in here. This is how these people type up reports. This is how these people get information on all other law enforcement agents and help and contact each other. So someone asked, what does this do? And Kate said, how does this harm the citizens? Technically, this doesn't, well, I mean, there are ways that this could harm the citizens, okay? So basically what happens is now these 10 other agencies that have been wiped from this, the only access they have is a radio in their car. So when they go on duty and they pull a car over, they've now got to get on the radio and they've got to say, Sulphur Springs unit, I'm going to be signal 27 at, someplace in Henry County and some other place in Henry County. And radio traffic will get back on and say, Sulphur Springs unit, go ahead. And he's going to say, I'm going to be signal 27 at these 2 roads in Sulphur Springs on a 18G George 3448 plate. All right. And so they're going to say, okay, clear. And then he's going to walk up to the car. And when he walks up to the car, he's going to get their name and driver's license, all that. He's going to walk back. He's going to come back on. He's going to get on the radio and he's going to say, Sulphur Springs unit dispatch. And they're going to say, go ahead. He's going to say, I'm going to need a 27 and a 29 on operator's license, 1004, whatever. And he's going to run it. He's going to say, could you run that? And they're going to get back on and they're going to say, Sulphur Springs unit, we got your 2729 one ready. And he's going to say, go ahead. And they're going to say, it comes back valid on, John Doe with two points valid. And he's signal 80. And he's going to say clear. And that's going to be one stop. Every agency that does that runs plates, the traffic is going to increase. Dispatch is going to go through the roof because what I've heard now is the small towns are saying, since you've wiped us off Spillman, because they used to be able to run all of this stuff on the computer, they're going to start running all this on dispatch. They're going to burn dispatch down. Dispatch is going to be mad at them. They're going to be mad at the county. Everyone's is just making a bunch of animosity where animosity is not needed. So crazy. It's really crazy what's going on. I don't understand. Some Diane said, what's going on that they're trying to do this. Diane, I don't know. That's what we got to ask. We got to figure out why the hell this is happening. Why is this happening? Pending investigations are in there. Yes, sir, Joe. Yes, everything in there. Anything in there. I don't know what's going on. This is really crazy. And I don't know why this is happening. So yeah, basically they want the taxpayers to pay for Spillman twice. The Kennard citizens are paying to the county to pay for the interlocal agreement to use this. And then now they want them to pay as Kennard citizens, so they're going to be being double taxed for this. Taxation without representation. They're going to be paying taxes twice and getting to use one equipment. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. And now they're saying well, you could go get another unit. You could go get something from the state police. Well, yes, but then you're not on the CAD system that everybody else in the county is. Then it goes back to, why don't everybody just split up and get their own dispatch? Well, money is hard and times are a bitch, so that's going to be hard to do. Not everybody's going to do that. So what happens is the small towns shut down, and now Henry County needs more guys. Now their budget increases. Now they need pay raises. Now the city needs more guys. This is about money. It's all about money. It all comes back to money. It all comes back to money for these folks. All while raising taxes and the jail and the new 911. And you pay and you pay and you pay and you pay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, okay, I'm going to come back here for 1 second. And I'm going to bring us back to this because this wraps up here, okay? Let me see here.
You can absolutely call
put together that. So any questions from anybody at all? Does anybody need a copy of the directive?
You know, arrest reports are done on Spillman, and they answered that, and they said, well, you can just get on and you can type an arrest report in Word document. You can get on and you know what I would do? I would go get crayons and I would fill out an arrest report on a piece of paper and say, here you go. All we can afford is I brought in a box of crayons from my daughter's from school. And that's all we had. So we hand wrote it. We hand wrote this out in Purple Mountain's Majesty, purple, and that's what you get this probable cause sheet in. They're really making and if you notice here, look at this. Look what we've got. We've got the sheriff and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 state troopers that are there. All right. They weren't there to say anything. They were there just to act as muscle, to be the muscle. And it's like, why were they there? Why are they there? Why is this going on? Now, keep in mind, folks, this is happening right now. This is 7:30 right now in this room when this is happening. And other than being kind of a douchebag, the sheriff has seemed to be fairly normal. He doesn't seem like he's under any stress. He's laughed. He's cut up. He's chuckled. He's had fun. He's made fun of these guys. He's called them not real cops. He's told them that, they don't do the same job. He said people are saying we're all on the same team. And he's making that line in the sand. You're not on the same team as us. Hey, Sproles, you're not on the same team as half of these guys. You've only been a cop for 4 years, dude. You're not on the same team, bro. You're an FNG. You've got years to go before you learn what you need to know to even be considered a veteran in law enforcement, son. You're still new. You're still wet behind the ears, bro. This is piss poor leadership from a man that leads from ego. You want me to tell you how I know? You want me to tell you why I'm so mad? Let me take you back. Let me take you back to 6 p.m. Let me take you back to 6 p.m.
Let's do this. Let's break the ice by. Let's have everybody introduce.
He's doing an icebreaker at 6 p.m. Listen.
So I emailed it out. If anybody needs a copy, we'll get you one. Email it out to all the marshals and the town clerks. Let's break the ice by.
Look how calm and cool he looks.
Have everybody introduce where they're from, just so we can get an idea of what we have here.
Jeff Murray, Moreland Police Department, now marshal 22 years.
We'll contact the complainant. Some of them want some of the departments that are represented, not represented.
100%. It's a serious problem.
County sheriff and many other sheriffs.
Okay.
Using your own example.
Let's have an icebreaker before I fuck you in the ass. It'll be great.
Right. Well, all right. So here's the deal. Here's no. Talk about a power trip. Talk about a power trip. Okay. At 6 o'clock, this man came in this room. Get your people here watching this right now. Get your people here watching this from Henry County, because this is very important. This man came in this room at 6 p.m. and led this bullshit meeting that nobody needed in Henry County for any reason. And just sometime like 20 to 30 to 40 to 45 minutes within the hour before had just been part of a use of force situation in his jail, in which, as my sources in law enforcement have stated today, he was part of a use of force situation in which he shot an African American inmate with 4 rounds of less than lethal beanbag material, beanbag shot from around less than a foot away, which caused the inmate who was inside the custody of the jail while being shot with 4 rounds. Okay. And I'm going to show you what these look like. These are beanbag rounds that are shot from a standard 12 gauge shotgun. Here's what they look like. And this less than lethal round, all 4 of them caused an injury that required the man to be transported to the hospital, where he received 22 to 24 stitches because of his accident. Yeah, a less than lethal can kill. Stupid shit happens, so it can kill. Now, I want to be very clear. There are lots of reasons why a person would use lethal force, deadly force, force to stop force. There would be lots of reasons why a person would use less than lethal force. There are times where people in jail, just as out on the street, act up, and they need to be taken into custody and taken into submission because they're going to hurt someone else. They're going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt a CO. But you're talking about an African-American male who, and to me, it could be any person. I'm just saying who it is. I know the name, but I'm not releasing the name at this time. I've got the name. I have a records request in to the sheriff's department for all of their use of force, reports, all of the incident reports, for the body cam footage, and for the video surveillance footage, and for all other information surrounding this. And in that records request, I used the inmate's name. All right. I'm going to tell you, he's inside of the jail. He is inside of the jail. What did this man have that they needed to shoot him 4 times? And when I say they, I don't mean they. I say Sheriff John Sproles. What was Sheriff John Sproles doing with this gun in his hand? He was getting ready to put on a whole big ass long meeting with town board members and town marshals. So is this another situation where he was off duty? He was just getting ready for this meeting and he heard something was popping off in the jail. And so he ran down there and was like, oh boy, I got to get in on this. I don't know. We're going to have to find that out. Time will tell. I don't know what the situation is. I can only speculate. But here's what I will not speculate on, and that I know I've been told by my sources within law enforcement in Henry County. And that is that sometime within about 40 minutes or 45 minutes around the time of this event, an African-American inmate, I know the name of the gentleman, was in the jail. Inside, he was in custody. And for whatever reason, he was shot 4 times with 4 rounds of beanbag gun from a 12 gauge shotgun. Okay. Looks like this. From a very short distance away, and it created a situation where there was some sort of gash or laceration that required a transport to the hospital, and the inmate needed 22 to 24 stitches. And my source in law enforcement and in media has stated that all of the big Indianapolis media stations are aware of this. The ACLU is aware of this. The Indiana Attorney General's office is aware of this. The FBI is aware of this. And I can say with pretty good amount of certainty that tonight at about 5:30, an unknown agency actually came and took the inmate out of the Henry County jail and put him in another location for his safety. Now, that, my friends, is probably going to be the story that blows all of this other last 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of information away. Because I am no attorney, and I don't claim to play an attorney on TV, but I believe with this man being in custody, these actions taken are definite Fourth Amendment and Eighth Amendment rights violations. There is, to my knowledge, there would be no reason why there would not be footage of this. So I think what you're getting ready to see, and I'm hearing that there are loads of people that were connected to this, all right, that were all very upset by it, and we're all very concerned that due to everything that happened from the George Floyd situation, that they were going to be in trouble for not coming forward. And so everybody like made a mad dash to do everything they could to sing from the rooftops. People, I don't think, waited, and tried to see what they could do. They sung as soon as possible. And I will tell you that this incident had lots of people feverishly writing reports, and it had people who were in the jail, till all hours of the evening last night, who are normally not in the jail during those hours. It had all sorts of people there. And keep in mind, folks, that this happened right around the time that,
That's something that
we were putting on a show.
I just think that's what town marshals are there for. And when you make stupid decisions, I made plenty of those, I got to eat it. I ate it financially. We seem to be cool here, just let everybody do whatever, because we're not going to eat it, the taxpayers will eat it. And I'll tell you, there will come a time, how many lawsuits I've seen lawsuits come in.
It's funny he's talking about lawsuits.
I had a conversation with the chief of police there. We'll give you 24-hour coverage. You can pay us $1 to make his deliveries. That guy had no idea. He did not know.
So this is just within a couple minutes, of all of this.
Okay.
Happening here. Hold on. 1 second. So I just thought that I just wanted to I just wanted to bring it to your attention that this, and to my knowledge, this is the first place that this information has been dropped. I do not believe that this information has been put out. I do not fancy myself news. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I'm a political commentator. But when the news comes to me and when I'm able to breaking news, I'll give you what I've got. This is a serious problem. And honestly, I feel like he should pull back on this July 10th directive and just keep things flowing like normal until all of this is behind him, because there's currently a lot of information that the Henry County Sheriff's Department, is going to be dealing with in the very near future. So you hear that, folks. I know of someone who was fired from that jail for excessive force and currently works in my town. Not my vote, but it's okay for the sheriff to do it. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I don't know. It's very interesting what's happening. Let's see here. Yeah, they should sing long, loud, and hard. And so, what do you mean? Wait, Kate said so, Spillman. What do you mean? Go ahead. Oh, you're muted. Wah, wah. You're still muted. No, you're not.
So how will not having access to Spillman affect the other law enforcement agencies?
I don't know. Maybe you were away when I answered that, but
You did? Okay, then I'll go back and watch. Don't worry about it.
No, you're fine. You're fine. For just basically for those ones. I mean, it just sends them back into the Stone Ages. And honestly, the worst thing about that is it affects the citizens, because you might get people who don't run people, and then you've got someone who's wanted in their area. It can affect all of these actions. And listen, any action that a law enforcement officer makes or an elected official makes, good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent, has the ability and will possibly affect citizens, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm going to say taking this Spillman account away from them it's not going to affect them in any positive way. It could only affect them negatively. So I just wanted to bring that information out and bring that information to you. It's a lot. The biggest thing that people need to know, thing that people needs to know here is that, again, the Henry County Sheriff's Department gets 100% of the public safety tax base, and they should be taking 100% of the calls. But now, after we're hearing these use of force situations, maybe it's better that they're not. Maybe they need to not be taking any calls. No, I don't want to say that, because there are some good men and or women on the Henry County Sheriff's Department. So I'm not looking to disparage all of them, but they do not have a leader leading them right now. And I've said, and I will say it again, Sheriff Sproles is going to damage law enforcement in Henry County. I said that back in November. I said it before November. I said, don't elect him. He will damage law enforcement in Henry County. People elected him. I said, oh my God, you've done it. He is going to damage law enforcement there. I said it again in December. I said it in January. I said it in April when I was like, oh my God, he's starting. And then now here we are in July, and look what he's doing. Look what he's doing with all of the town. And right before going into that big meeting where he was going to do and say a bunch of weirdness, he's going hands-on with an inmate in the jail. He should never even have been there. The point of this is, I don't believe that he has enough time on. Oops, I removed myself. I don't believe that he has enough time on and enough know-how to be an effective leader of the department this size. Maybe he could lead a town marshal's office. You know, maybe he could go to Greensboro and lead the town there. But I don't think he has a place or a definitely doesn't have a mandate to do what he's doing in the sheriff's department. And I think only time will tell that this guy is going to be disastrous. And you're right, Troy. Very well could affect surrounding counties. Very, very well could affect surrounding counties. And I just got to say, folks, this is why elections have matter. Elections have consequences. Henry County is so far Republican right, it's ridiculous. That people don't have any kind of common sense whatsoever when it comes. They just go in out of 13,000 votes that were cast in November. 5,000, some of them were straight party tickets. That's just people going in and throwing that shit away. You cannot do that. 5,000 votes will swing an election. That's nuts. If Landon, well, let me tell you that right there, okay? Let me just tell you what that. Let me tell you right. I'll tell you right now. Let me do some math in here real quick. All right, so 9,582. 9,582 is how many votes Sproles had. Now, if we minus the straight party Republican vote, okay, then that means Sproles only received 5,223 actual votes where people selected his name. All right. So if we give Landon Dean 814, if we give Landon those if we give Landon those, even half of those straight party R, he beats Sproles. And look, for those of you out there that say, I don't like Landon, we didn't have a choice, that's your right, that's your prerogative, you can say that. But I can tell you, the man leading your law enforcement career, the man leading the law enforcement in Henry County right now is hurting you all. So, all right, this has been a long-ass show, ladies and gentlemen. Please share this with everybody, and I'm probably going to take just this very last section of the big breaking news with the use of force shit, and I'll probably just chop that up and put that as just a section of its own. So that'll be out there. Please share this information, share the show. This is Bilbrey Live. All right. This is the Bilbrey Live show. And this is on the Bastards of Politics channel. This is Bilbrey Live. All right. Bastards of Politics is the flagship. All right. We have a whole host of programs here. The Bastards of Politics is our long form format podcast. It's live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We also have Civic Duty that releases content just sporadically when content is available throughout the week. Bilbrey Live is my program. It's on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Rudd's Room releases content sporadically when content is available. Guns of the Week releases content when content is available. And A Side of Bastards releases content whenever 2 or more of us get together and do shit in some kind of a unit that is not the Bastards. So please hit the little bell down there, subscribe, hit the bell down there to get notified. Comment, if you will. For those of you that have been talking in the live chat, I appreciate it. If you watch this in repeat, please comment in the comment section and help spread the word. Share the show with everyone you know. And other than that, we are out of here. Good night. God bless. Take care.